Copeland said there were rules, like guests were not allowed to roam the homes. Where did they all stay?
Yeah, he would have live-in girlfriends. They had their own rooms. Guests would just come maybe sit in the studio with him. He had like 3 properties. In those properties, there was like a certain decorum that was expected. He pretty much didn't want not just the girls to move around, but he didn't want anybody to be able to just roam his house, like a museum.
Copeland says she was asked to accompany his guests on outings. She says during shopping trips, the women often didn't interact with male salespeople.
They asked me during the trial, did you notice their reaction with males? And I did. They didn't want to speak to the males. In fact, sometimes they would ask me to interact with the males.
So they didn't want to speak to the males, or were they told not to speak to the males?
Well, that piece I can't speak to because I don't know if they were told, but I would say that you can pretty much surmise that that was probably the case.
She says while outside a fitness center waiting for Kelly to work out, she was in a van with multiple women, and one of his girlfriends needed to use the restroom, but she says refused to go because she did not have permission from Kelly. Was she afraid of him? Was she afraid that if she removed or went to the bathroom that she would be in trouble?
That's, a question, I guess, for her. But what I can say is this. There are certain rules that are put in place for safety. Stops at the threshold of his bedroom door.
Copeland says multiple live-in girlfriends and other women would visit his homes, and one of her jobs was making their travel arrangements. In court, Kelly has been accused by some women of traveling them across state lines when they were underage. Another alleged victim telling the jury she was even held captive for several days. Diana maintains she didn't see anything like that. When you're making travel arrangements, of course, you need the date of birth. So how old were these women?
They ranged in ages, no one under 18. In fact, when this case came up, I'm reading that women are locked up and kidnapped and these things of that nature. And that's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing anybody that's trying to leave or any locked doors. Every woman that's left has walked right out the door.
Did he ever ask you to recruit women for him?
He's never asked me, but at the time, I'm only saying that he was R. Kelly, a mega superstar.
It's a lot of things that's not making sense here because what about all of these travel arrangements? Where was these women going to? And about permission to use the bathroom in public out of safety. And her responding that it was out of safety. Like, who knew of which woman was with R. Kelly? It had never been publicized that he was in a relationship with any of these women. So if they were to go to the bathroom, it wouldn't be of any association with R. Kelly. Question is, did R. Kelly assistant help assist him in messing with these girls? So apparently the assistant knew the ins and out of R. Kelly personal business and what's going on in the home, including all the women he messed with. Now, aside from these claims, we know for a fact that R. Kelly liked and dealt with young women, not of legal age, and that has been publicized. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. But this assistant is a key witness in the court's eyes because the thing about being a celebrity is that the assistant of these celebrities has so much access to where her word will be heavily placed in value in the courtroom. The thing about these stories is, especially with the 19-year-old, is that they all tell similar stories. It's hard to stay on a same particular pattern if it's untrue. So we can agree to that. And then not to mention that this assistant previously said that she had to abide by R. Kelly's rules. So why break the rule now? Why break the code now? Why? Because if he's found guilty, then they're going to be looking at that assistant as if she was a willing participant in all of the events that happened, especially when she already admits to taking these women around, doing certain things and running certain errors around the situation. Now, she worked with this man for 16 years. She admits that R. Kelly had a slew of women in the home and that these women were living in different rooms in the home, and he had at least about 3 different properties. So he had all these women in different rooms in different properties. So you can imagine how many women he occupied. So the assistant also expressed how R. Kelly had strict rules for the women and expressed how they were scared to speak or be around other guys. Now, in the conversation, we can already attest the control that he had over these women based off the assistant saying that they were scared to speak to other guys or look at other guys. And when the women respond in fear, there seems to be some secret consequences from Mr. Kelly. Now, this is just assumptions from the conversation that was had with the assistant. Not to mention that he took them on outings, and she said that these women agreed to this type of arrangement. Now, while she speaks on bits and pieces, she is still in protect mode because when the questions are elaborated, she says she can't speak on certain things, which then confirms that there may be something else to hide. Because think about it, if everything was innocent, then you can freely speak on the whole matter and not sections of the matter. So does this sound like a person that may be a part of the whole thing? Because when they asked her, why were the women afraid or not allowed to go to the bathroom? Why did they have to text to ask him to go to the bathroom? Because they weren't allowed to roam around the house, even though they were living there. They had to stay in their rooms. The assistant responded that it was out of safety. But safety of what? If you don't trust somebody in your home, why do you have them living there? And if they were trying to go to the bathroom, but they couldn't go out of safety, were they trying to get away? These are just the questions that are being asked. And I know that people are going to have a hard time figuring out how this happened or why didn't they just leave. But you got to realize some of these people are out here in real messed up situations, and people in R. Kelly's position have the means to prey on these type of people, prey on the weak and the young-minded. Now, this assistant said that she made these women's travel arrangements. I mean, these women were living the high life under strict rule. They asked about the age of these women because in order for her to make all of these arrangements for these women, she had to have some type of information on them. She said that they were all 18 years or older. But let's say that they weren't. Where were the parents of these young girls? And were fake identifications made? Like, all of this stuff has to coincide and align together. That's what's making the case real sticky. Is the assistant an accessory to the crimes? She expressed that these women were free to leave the home and are willing participants. So are these crimes based in leaning more towards kidnap and confinement or predatorial? Because his history reflects heavily on the jury's decision making in this courtroom. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Like, comment, and subscribe to the video. I'm out.